My parents sipped their cocktails and said I didn't deserve this vacation. So I told them to stop using my card and walked away from a family that treated me like their personal ATM. My name is Nate. I'm 31. And up until last week, I still believed that a part of me could fix my relationship with my family. I thought maybe time would smooth out the hurt, that forgiveness would settle in like sand over broken glass. But that illusion shattered over brunch in Marbella, Spain. We'd only been at the resort for 3 days. It was supposed to be a celebration, a rare family reunion. Mom had booked it months in advance and made it sound like a peace offering after a year full of tension, money drama, and too many cold silences over group chats. "You work so hard, Nate," she said over the phone. "It's time you let us treat you for once. No arguments." So I packed light. I even smiled when I saw the ridiculous group t-shirt she made with Mitchell Family Takeover 2025 printed in cursive across the chest. My sister, Ava, brought her fiancé who clearly thought we were beneath him. My brother, Jake, arrived late and left early for everything claiming crypto emergencies. Mom played mediator, as always, and my parents just drank. It was Sunday morning and the sun was spilling over the terrace like golden syrup. We were at the hotel's open-air restaurant, sipping overpriced espresso and fake laughing over some childhood story that was never funny to begin with. My card had been on file since check-in, and I was the one who quietly signed the dinner bills, the room upgrades, even the spa packages my sister kept mysteriously booking. I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't plan on starting a war in Marbella. But then it happened. My parents, leaning back in their chairs, sunglasses perched on their foreheads, lifted their cocktails and said it like it was just a joke. "You don't deserve this vacation, Nate. You've always been the buzzkill." I blinked. They took a long sip of their drinks, then added with a smirk, "But hey, thanks for picking up the tab. Your card makes a fine family fund." Everyone laughed, even Ava, even Mom. And in that moment, I felt it, this cold sick twist in my stomach. The kind of twist you feel when you know something isn't just rude, it's intentional, it's personal. "Then stop using my credit card," I said. I stood slowly, napkin in hand, placing it down on the table. "And maybe next time you'll remember that respect isn't included in the room service." No one moved. Ava's fiancé froze mid-bite. Jake raised his eyebrows. Mom reached for her glass but missed it slightly. I didn't wait for a response. I walked away through the pool area, past the bar, straight into the elevator. My hands were shaking, and that was the last time I ever called it a family vacation. Later that day, I opened my banking app, and there it was. $2,841.37 at the resort's luxury boutique. $1,200 for a deep tissue couples massage. I'm single, by the way. $375.50 daily for mini bar and room service charge to my suite where I hadn't even been. All of it on my credit card. That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't just a casual trip. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was coordinated. They knew. They knew my card was on file. They knew I wouldn't say anything because I never did. And they'd use that silence like a blank check. I thought about everything that led up to this. The times my parents forgot their wallets. The vacation house I co-signed for but never got a key to. The birthday gifts. That turned into family expenses. The moment Mom guilt-tripped me into paying off Jake's old DUI fine because he's your brother and he's struggling. I remembered it all and I felt something crack, not break, crack. That fine line between loyalty and self-destruction. The one I'd tiptoed on for years. That evening, I went back to the hotel front desk and requested the entire billing ledger. The manager hesitated, but handed it over when I told him it was my card on file. I sat on the patio of my suite with a glass of water, flipping page by page through my family's private luxury spree, bought with my credit, my money, and none of their shame. And the wildest part? They never even said, "Thank you. You've always had more than the others," my mother said, "so stop acting like a victim." I was 10 when I realized my family didn't really see me. It was the night before my school's science fair. I built a volcano from scratch. Papier-mâché, baking soda explosions, even painted the lava by hand. I'd stayed up late all week mixing glue and paint on the kitchen table. My mom had stepped over the project a dozen times without so much as asking what it was. But when Ava, my younger sister by 3 years, burst into the room crying about a broken tiara for her school play, Mom dropped everything. She stepped right over my volcano, crushed it under her heel, and didn't even notice. I remember staring at the crumpled papier-mâché, red paint oozing like real lava across our vinyl kitchen floor, and feeling something break inside me. I spent hours carefully molding that volcano, staying up until my eyes burned, my fingertips stained with paint and glue. I had imagined the science teacher's face when she saw it, maybe even winning a ribbon. Instead, I knelt there alone in the kitchen, trying to salvage broken pieces while my mother's voice echoed from the living room, comforting Ava, promising to fix everything for her. That night, I rebuilt what I could. It wasn't the same. The crater was lopsided, the paint smeared, but I refused to give up. I took third place the next day, which felt like nothing at all. When I brought the ribbon home, my mother glanced at it briefly and said, "That's nice, honey," before turning back to Ava's dance recital costume she was hemming. I pinned that ribbon to my bedroom wall anyway, a small victory nobody else celebrated. That was the first time I ever felt invisible, truly unseen in my own home. My parents, Frank and my mom, were big on speeches, short on hugs. They always believed men should provide and shut up about it. Their affection came with conditions, achievement, silence, compliance. Frank had been in the army before selling insurance, and he brought that military discipline home with him. Emotions were weakness, tears were unacceptable. Mitchell, men handle their business, he'd say whenever I showed any sign of distress. They used to say, if you're complaining, you're not working hard enough. So I stopped complaining. I started mowing lawns at 13, saved up every dime. By 16, I was fixing old phones and flipping them online. While other kids bought sneakers, I was setting up a savings account at the local credit union. I wanted a future, my own. But in our house, independence was punished. Family first met Nate Pays. When Ava turned 17, my parents bought her a car, a silver Mazda, freshly waxed with a ribbon. She's a girl, Mom said. It's not safe for her to take the bus. When I turned 18, I got a pat on the back and a used duffel bag for college. No joke. Inside was a Target gift card for $50 and a note from my parents, make us proud but not too proud. They never visited my college, never asked about my classes. But when Jake, my older brother, got expelled for the second time, guess who they called to help him get back on his feet? It's just a little loan, Mom said sweetly. Jake is going through a lot. You're stable. You can spare it. I wired him $3,000. He spent it on crypto, weed, and a flight to Thailand. When I confronted him months later, his response was shockingly casual. Bro, investments take time. I'll make it back tenfold. He never did. He never even apologized for the lie. When I mentioned it at Thanksgiving that year, my mother shushed me and whispered, not now, Nate. Your brother's trying to stay positive. As if my financial loss was less important than protecting Jake's fragile ego. My father simply stared at his plate, avoiding eye contact, the silence becoming his signature response to uncomfortable truths. I kept a ledger after that. A small notebook hidden in my desk drawer where I documented every loan, every forgotten wallet, every emergency that somehow required my financial intervention. By the time I turned 28, the total was $23,457. Not an insignificant sum for someone who'd worked their way through college with no parental support. I never showed them that notebook. Part of me knew they'd dismiss it as petty scorekeeping, and perhaps it was. But it was also evidence, a paper trail of systematic exploitation disguised as family obligation. The first major betrayal wasn't Marbella. That was just the final straw. No. The first real betrayal happened 4 years ago when I came home for Christmas. I'd saved for months to surprise my parents with a cruise to Alaska. I printed the tickets, wrapped them in a box, put a note that said, thanks for raising me. Let me take care of you for once. My parents opened the box, blinked once, then passed the tickets to Ava. Oh, cool. She said. I've always wanted to go. Maybe Connor and I can make it a couple's trip. They gave my gift to her, just like that. Didn't even ask me. I was the wallet, not the son. After that, it got worse. Anytime a bill was late, I'd get a call. We're in a bit of a pinch this month. The water heater broke. Jake needed dental surgery. Ava's boyfriend was out of work. Could you cover her rent for one more month? Always phrased like it was temporary, like I was the only one who had anything to spare because I had a good job, because I didn't have a family of my own. Let me be clear. I said yes too many times and they knew it. Because every time I said no, they went silent. Gaslighting is a love language. You're just bitter because you're alone. You always had it easier than your siblings. Your sister's struggling. She's not as tough as you. You're lucky to have money, Nate. Be grateful. You're so selfish lately. What happened to you? I started doubting myself. Was I being cold? Uncaring? Was it wrong to not want to cover $2,800 in wedding catering for Jake's second marriage? Apparently, yes. Because when I refused, Mom cried and said, I don't even recognize you anymore. And my parents texted, you've changed, not for the better. The truth about Marbella? Here's what no one knows. That Marbella trip? I didn't agree to pay for it. I agreed to attend. But the moment we checked in, the hotel asked whose card to hold. Everyone looked at me. My parents shrugged. Mom smiled. Eva said, it's just a hold. You'll get it back. I handed over the card. The next morning, Ava bought 2 designer bags. Jake ordered 4 bottles of champagne to the room and I got charged for all of it. When I asked about it, my parents laughed. Come on, Nate. Loosen up. You'll make that money back in a week. But that wasn't the point. It wasn't about the money. It was about never being asked, never being considered, never being respected. I stared at that receipt for the $5,443.60 spa bill and something inside me said, enough. We just thought you'd be okay with it, my mom whispered. You should have thought again, I replied. Then I pulled out the receipts, literally. I didn't scream. I didn't throw a fit. I didn't even cancel the trip that day. I just packed my things, walked into the hotel business center, and printed every single receipt for my credit card statement. Each one had a name attached. Each one had a room number. Each one told a story. My family didn't just use me, they tracked their destruction through luxury purchases and room service. The email that night, I sent a group email. Subject, Family Expenses Breakdown, Urgent Review. Hey, all. I've attached a PDF with all charges that hit my account this week. You'll see your names next to the purchases, so please confirm who will be reimbursing what. If I don't hear back by Friday, I'll have no choice but to move forward with legal and financial recourse, including fraud claims. I'd prefer to keep this civil. Nate, no emojis, no love you, just numbers, facts, accountability. The Zoom call 3 hours later, I got a text from Ava. Are you serious right now? Then Jake, you're losing it, bro. This is family. And finally, Mom asking for a quick Zoom to talk privately. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just sent her a meeting link. They all joined. Jake was shirtless in bed. Ava was doing her makeup. Mom had wine. My parents weren't on camera. Nate, Mom started all sweet and soft. Why would you threaten legal action? It's us. Exactly. I said, it's you. That's the problem. Jake scoffed. This is about the hotel stuff? You know we were going to pay you back. I shared my screen. Slide 1, total charges, $14,372.10. Slide 2, breakdown by person. Jake, $4,200. Ava, $3,850. Parents, $4,500. Mom, $2,100. Random charges with no name, $1,800. Silence. You think this is okay? I asked, eyes locked on the screen. That it's normal to charge this much to someone without asking? You make more money than any of us, Ava said sharply. It's not like it's hurting you. And that makes it okay to rob me? No one robbed you, she shouted. Did I authorize it? Well, no. Then it's theft. Mom's monologue, that's when Mom started crying. We just wanted one nice trip. Just one where no one had to worry. You're always so cold, Nate, so distant. We thought maybe if we could all just relax like we used to, we'd feel like a family again. Used to? I asked voice. Flat. When did we ever relax? When you crushed my volcano for Ava's tiara. When I paid for Jake's second DUI lawyer. When you gave my Alaska cruise gift to Ava and her boyfriend. Her face crumbled. My parents finally unmuted. All right, Nate. You've made your point. What do you want? Money? I leaned toward the webcam. No. I want boundaries and consequences. The next day, I made a decision. If they wanted to pretend I didn't matter, I'd show them exactly how much I did. 1. Fraud report filed. I contacted my bank and flagged every charge. I had the hotel receipts, emails, IP addresses. They escalated the case. 2. Group chat expose. I posted every receipt in the extended family WhatsApp group. Caption, this is what vacation looked like, just so you all know who paid for your cocktails. Maya gasped. My cousin wrote, no way. My uncle asked if I was serious. Ava left the group. Jake wrote, don't air family drama. I ignored him. 3. Will and trust update. I called my lawyer. Remove all family members from the emergency contact and will. Even your parents, especially them. 4. Work bonus reveal. At the end of that week, I got a $75,000 year-end bonus. I booked a solo trip to Iceland. 5 stars, first class. And I posted every moment. Caption, paid by me enjoying it alone. No freeloaders this time. My parents tried again a week later. They called. I didn't pick up. They left a voicemail. Nate, you've made your point, but you're not being fair. We're family. You owe us a chance to fix this. I sent a one-line text back. I owed you nothing. You just overdrew my patience. The legal payback, my parents assumed this would follow the usual script. Blow up, silence, half apology, and eventually another charge on my card. Not this time. I consulted with a lawyer. This isn't just family drama, he said, flipping through the receipts. It's financial misconduct. They had no legal right to spend this amount without consent. I filed an official civil complaint, a claim for reimbursement. I listed unauthorized charges, emotional distress, financial abuse over time. Certified copies of the lawsuit were mailed to each family member. They were quiet for 3 days. On day 4, my parents exploded. The phone call I recorded. How could you do this? Parents don't get sued by their children. Children don't get stolen from by their parents, I said calmly. It was just a vacation. $11,400 isn't just anything. You're tearing this family apart over money. No. I'm just refusing to keep funding its dysfunction. After that call, I blocked their numbers. That night, I sat on my balcony until dawn, watching the city lights, wondering if I was overreacting. But every time doubt crept in, I'd pull up the photos of those receipts on my phone and remember the smirk on my father's face as he called me a buzzkill while charging another round of golf to my account. I'd remember my mother's passive acceptance, her complacency in their collective exploitation. The sunrise brought clarity. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about dignity. Within a week, I started therapy. Family trauma doesn't just disappear because you set boundaries, my therapist explained during our first session. The guilt is a programmed response. They installed that button and have been pushing it for years. For the first time, I heard someone call it what it was: financial abuse. Not just family dynamics, not just generational differences, but a pattern of exploitation with me as the designated victim. My therapist suggested keeping a journal of feelings, not just financial transactions. I filled pages with memories I'd suppressed: Christmases where Jake and Ava received lavish gifts while I got practical items, family photos where I was positioned at the edge, easily cropped out, vacation planning sessions where my input was ignored but my wallet was essential. Writing it down was like lancing a wound, painful but necessary for healing. The birthday bombshell. Mom planned a 60th birthday party for herself, friends, family, even co-workers. She naively invited me as if nothing had happened. I didn't decline. I showed up, but I brought a surprise. Toward the end of the night, I stood up during the speeches. Everyone was sipping champagne, sharing sweet stories. I interrupted. Sorry to cut in, but since we're all here, I have something to say. I pulled out the printed receipts and laid them in front of my mother. These are the charges from our family vacation. I didn't gift it. I didn't agree to it. I just paid for it like always. Silence fell across the room. Aunt Mary gasped. My cousin whispered, "Unbelievable." My uncle looked away. I continued, "This isn't about the money. It's about respect. About how my no has never been accepted in this family. But from now on, it will be." And then I walked out. Cutting the cord, I changed all my passwords, opened brand new bank accounts with no shared access, removed my family from my insurance and emergency contacts, unlinked them from payment apps, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, revoked access to shared medical plans and retirement beneficiaries. 3 days later, Mom texted, "What's this new card? We couldn't buy Ava her course materials." I replied, "Sounds like your responsibility, not mine." One last ask, Ava messaged me. "I didn't know it would get this bad. It's not my fault, but I'm in a tough spot right now. Could you spot me $300 till Friday? I'll pay you back." I didn't respond. Instead, I sent her a screenshot of her hotel charges, $3,850. Ava's account, spa, shopping, dining. I wrote, "Already did. No returns." Going public, I wrote an article on Medium titled, "When Your Family Sees You as a Wallet." I laid out every detail: childhood incidents, credit card abuse, how guilt was weaponized, how boundaries were bulldozed. The article went viral. 250,000 views in under a week. Therapists reposted it. A TikTok creator quoted it. Emails poured in, "This is my life. It's like you wrote my story. Thank you. You gave me the courage to say no." The end of breaking point. I didn't just reclaim control. I cut the cord. No more family accountant. No more emotional punching bag. No more provider by default. I was free, alone maybe, but clean and stronger than I'd ever been. "You've changed," my sister texted. "Thank you," I replied. Then I blocked her. 8 weeks later, silence. Then a ping. 2 months passed. Not a word from my parents. No emails. No calls. No guilt-tripping group chats. I thought they'd finally backed off, maybe even learned something. Then one morning while sipping coffee in my new apartment, quiet, clean, mine, I got a text from my parents. "Jake's about to lose his apartment. Can you at least co-sign the lease?" I laughed out loud. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my email and clicked confirm on the message from my real estate agent. "Your offer on the townhouse has been accepted." That's right. Townhouse. In my name, no CO signers, no shared accounts, no family strings attached. The rise of Nate. I've been saving for years. But now, with no one draining my income through guilt and manipulation, I was finally building something real. I paid off my car, bought a modern minimal townhouse with cash for the down payment, built an investment portfolio that actually worked for me. I even started taking weekends off, something I hadn't done in over 6 years. I slept better, ate better, looked in the mirror one morning, and saw someone I hadn't seen in years, a man who wasn't tired, who wasn't angry, just free. Let the dominoes fall. Ava lost her job. Apparently, the boutique she worked at shut down. She was devastated. Mom emailed me, "Ava is struggling. Can you just help her out until she gets back on her feet?" I replied, "You raised her. You help her." Then I archived the thread. Jake's car got repossessed. A friend of mine from high school who now works at the DMV texted me. "Did Jake seriously start Ubering from your parents' place again?" "Yep," I replied. Back to base camp. Mom's meltdown, mid-November. I received a handwritten letter. Blue ink, shaky cursive, perfume-scented vintage guilt trip. "Nate, I know things got heated, but we're still a family. Ava is hurting. Jake is lost. Your father hardly talks anymore. We were just trying to create a special vacation. That doesn't mean we don't love you. Please call me. Love, Mom. I flipped the letter over, wrote one sentence on the back, and mailed it back. Love doesn't come with an invoice. The promotion in January, I was called into my VP's office. We had coffee, talked goals, performance, leadership. Then he pushed an envelope across the desk. You've been one of the most dependable leaders we've had. We want to put you in charge of the division next year. Inside the envelope, executive track. $40,000 raise, profit sharing, flexible schedule, full trust. This real? I asked. Very, he said. And for once, I didn't feel like a fraud. I'd earned it. No help, no shortcuts, just me. That evening, I celebrated alone. I opened a bottle of Macallan 18 I'd been saving, poured 2 fingers into a crystal tumbler, and toasted my reflection. To becoming visible, I whispered. I thought about calling someone, maybe my college roommate who'd always believed in me, or the woman I'd been dating casually for a few months, but this moment felt sacred, private. This triumph belonged only to me. The strangest part of success is how it recalibrates your relationship with money. It wasn't that I suddenly had more than I needed, I'd always been careful with finances. It was that money no longer carried the weight of family obligation. Each dollar earned wasn't immediately earmarked for someone else's emergency or desire. I started a foundation that provided scholarships for first-generation college students. I invested in sustainable energy startups. I bought art from local artists simply because it moved me. For the first time, money became a tool for creation rather than a means of control. No bragging, no posts, no flex. I didn't post about the promotion, didn't show off the new furniture, didn't brag about the vacation I planned for spring because the best revenge is silence. They kept texting. I kept deleting. They spiraled. I soared. My therapist noted the change in our sessions. You're sitting differently, she observed. More upright, more present. I hadn't noticed, but she was right. The physical weight of expectation had lifted from my shoulders. I no longer flinched when my phone rang, no longer felt that flutter of anxiety when an email notification appeared. Freedom manifested in my body as much as my bank account. I joined a hiking group, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for when I was constantly working overtime to fund my family's lifestyle. Every Sunday, we'd tackle a different trail, and I discovered muscles I never knew I had, views I'd never taken time to appreciate. I made real friends, people who wanted my company, not my credit card. We'd share trail mix and stories at summit points, take photos of each other against spectacular backdrops, and there was never an undertone of who owed what. Just mutual respect and genuine connection. I dated more intentionally too. Before, relationships had always taken a backseat to family drama and work obligations. Now, I could actually be present on dates, listen actively, offer genuine support. I met Elise at a bookstore event. She was the author, discussing her work on healthy boundaries and generational trauma. The irony wasn't lost on me. Our first date lasted 6 hours, just talking over coffee that went cold because we forgot to drink it. For the first time, I told someone the complete, unfiltered story of my family without shame or minimization. She didn't flinch, didn't offer platitudes. That wasn't love, she said simply. You deserved better. The final drive by one Sunday afternoon, I drove past my childhood home. The paint was fading. The lawn hadn't been mowed. Jake's old truck sat in the driveway, one tire flat. I didn't stop, didn't honk, didn't think about ringing the doorbell. I just whispered to myself, you built this mess. Now you get to live in it. The message that broke me then healed me. In March, I got a message from my cousin Maya, the only family member who stayed neutral. Just wanted to say, you were right to walk away. I used to think I was selfish for setting boundaries. Now, I see it's called self-respect. You gave me permission to put myself first. Thank you. I sat with that message for a long time. Tears came but they weren't sad. It was the feeling of finally being understood, finally seen. Not as a wallet, not as a punching bag, not as the stable one who could handle everything, just as me. The following week, I met Maya for coffee. She looked different, calmer, more confident. She'd moved out of her parents' house, was renting a small apartment on her own for the first time at 27. After seeing what she did, I realized I didn't have to keep explaining myself to people who never listened, she told me, stirring her latte. I didn't have to keep accepting behavior that made me feel worthless. We talked for hours, comparing notes on family dynamics, laughing at the absurdity of what we'd both normalized for so long. Remember that Christmas when Uncle Joe got drunk and told everyone their net worth based on how much they'd borrowed from him? She recalled. We laughed until we cried, the kind of healing laughter that comes only from shared understanding. Before we parted, she hugged me tightly. You know, you saved more than yourself when you walked away, she whispered. You showed us all it was possible. I started a support group after that. Nothing formal, just a monthly meeting at a local community center for people struggling with financial exploitation by family. Sometimes only 3 people would show up, other nights, the room was packed. We shared strategies for setting boundaries, resources for financial recovery, and most importantly, the validation that we weren't crazy or selfish for wanting to control our own money. One elderly man cried as he described emptying his retirement account for a son who never called unless he needed cash. Young woman detailed how her siblings had manipulated their mother's will, leaving her with debt while they divided the assets. These stories could have been crushing, but instead, they formed a tapestry of resilience. People helping people reclaim their worth beyond their bank accounts. What they lost. Ava's back at my parents' house, jobless, applying to entry-level receptionist positions she swears are temporary. Jake evicted again. Mom and dad quiet for once, drowning in credit card debt and silence. No one left to leech off. The family ATM shut down permanently. They used to call me cold, insensitive, distant. What they never realized is they created that distance and I finally let it stay. We miss you, the letter said. I read it once then burned it. It arrived on a rainy Thursday, no return address, no name on the envelope, but I knew the handwriting. Inside, Nate, we've all made mistakes, but you shutting us out hurts more than you know. You've always been the strong one, the smart one, and maybe that made us forget you're human too. Jake's been asking about you. Ava is in therapy. Your parents, they've changed. We're not asking for money, just a seat at the table again. Please come home. Love, Mom. I sat with the letter for a full minute. No music, no distractions, just me and the past. Then I stood, walked to the fireplace and lit a match. The paper curled in seconds. Smoke rose and with it, every old obligation, every old guilt, every fake apology disguised as love. I didn't cry, didn't hesitate. I just whispered, I am home. He didn't go back. They never heard from him again.